Hello and welcome to video 14 in my Rigging in Maya series. In the previous video we looked at building a joint based facial rig, complete with all the controls needed to animate it. What we're going to do now is take a step back and rebuild the face rig, but instead of using joints we will be using blend shapes. Rather than just focus on the shape editor, I also want to investigate some other options which could help speed up your shape creation. In addition to this, I also want to share a technique I regularly use to help divide an area, like the lips, but into sections. But this is also future-proof if the base mesh changes. So in effect, you will be building a blend shape generator. Now before we dive in, I just wanted to mention that you can now download all the source files for each part of this Rigging in Maya series from my CubeBrush page. You can find a link in the description below. While you're there, why don't you grab some of the other tutorials, models or rigs I have on offer? Most are free, but if you would like to help contribute to these videos, all donations are welcome. Alternatively, if you enjoy these videos, why not simply treat me to a coffee as a way of saying thank you? Just head to coffee.com/antCGi. Supporters now get exclusive rewards and early access to videos, not to mention a private invitation to my very own Discord channel. Right, let's dive in. So here we have the model in the same state as it was before we started the joint-based facial rig, but with a few minor changes. We still have the joints driving the eyes and the eyelids. To be honest, I think this is always the best way to animate a spherical object. Blend shapes are linear, meaning the vertices move from one point to another in a straight line, so they don't work well on an eyeball. I also have the controls which we created in the previous videos here too. I don't see the point in going over these again, so if you want to see how they were created, please refer back to video 12. I might change these slightly too, depending on what shapes we end up with. Just like the eyes, I'm keeping the jaw joint driven too. Again, this just gives us much more flexibility in this area, and we can achieve some nice natural movement. The idea is to use these controls to manipulate the blend shapes in these areas. So here, for example, moving this would puff out his cheek. This control could move this area of the lip, creating a nice curve. The same with this one. So we could edit them individually or all at the same time to create multiple mouth shapes. Thinking about it, I might add an extra control in the corner here. With this one, we can pull the mouth around to make it wider, move it up to form a smile, and down to make him frown. Okay, let's hide those again. One other change I've made is to separate the head from the body. This is just to make the blend shapes more efficient. So rather than having to calculate the whole body each time, it's just working on the head vertices. Everything is still skinned the same way, as you can see if I move the neck. Okay, let's start making some shapes. Go to the Sculpting tab and then open the Shape Editor. The Shape Editor is relatively new to Maya. I think it's only been around for a few years, but this, along with the sculpting tools, has made life so much easier for creating blend shapes, or morph targets as they're also known. Select the head model and go to Create Blend Shape. A new blend shape node is added into the editor. Let's rename this to head_BS so we know what it's driving. Now this node doesn't do anything by itself, it's just a container for all the shapes we need. Next, click Add Target. We now have our first shape called male_head1, simply because the model is named that. Let's work on the lips first, as these are the more complicated area. Rename the target to Lips Open. The slider next to the name controls how much of that shape you will see. You can blend between 0 and 1, but you can also go above and below these values too, as we will see later. This edit button is very important. You need to activate it to tell Maya which shape or target you're working on. If you don't, Maya will give you an error, but if you ignore that, be careful because you may end up editing the wrong target. Select the grab tool and let's raise this middle section of the upper lip. Now we've made that change, you can see that we can adjust the slider to blend between it being active or not. You can also adjust the values in the channel box too, as you would traditionally, and it's this attribute which the controls will drive. If you make a mistake and want to remove part or all of a target, you can use the Erase Target tool here. So we can simply paint that away. And now if we adjust the slider, nothing happens, as you would expect. For this target, we want the lips to be open, so we can see his teeth, almost like he's showing them to us. The idea is to create them fully open, and then we can divide the shape into the sections we need. That way, when they are all used together, you get a nice even shape. Rather than use the sculpting tools to achieve this, I'm actually going to edit the geometry directly, so I can be more precise. Go to Face Editing mode. We want to edit both sides of the lips at the same time, so let's activate Symmetry. Hold Ctrl and Shift and then right click. Now go to Symmetry and then up again to Symmetry and enable it. As you can see, we now have these blue highlighted faces, indicating that these are symmetrical. So if I work on one side, it will also update on the opposite side. Let's select this line of polygons inside the upper lip. And maybe the line above it too. You will notice we also have this coloured fall off going from yellow to orange and then red. This is soft selection. Yellow is the maximum influence over the geometry, and that influence fades, just as the colours do. If I double click on the Move tool to bring up the options and open soft selection here, we can see that it's activated, and we can also see all the options available. Adjusting fall off radius will spread the influence. As you can see, it's wider now. To be honest though, it's easier to just hold B and then drag with your middle mouse button to adjust this. Something like this is fine. You can also change the fall off mode. Switching to volume will make the influence more of an area influence, so this will now affect the whole lip area. We can now manipulate both lips, which isn't what we want. Changing back to surface is better for us because the fall off then works on the geometry surface rather than a global area. Okay, let's close this. I'm going to raise the upper lip. We maybe need a bit more of an influence. That's better. We have a nice spread going from the lip to the nose. Now let's select the lower lip. And move those down. This looks a bit rough, but it's given us the main shape we need. Go back to the sculpting tools now. So let's use the grab tool again. Again, make sure symmetry is enabled. Hold Ctrl and Shift and then right click to bring up the marking menu. Go to Symmetry and then Object X. We can see the dot on the opposite side indicating symmetry is now on. I'm just going to hold Shift and gently soften around the outer lips. If you're using the grab tool, you can quickly access the smooth tool this way. That's better. We need these areas of the lips to be raised more, to create a bit more of a corner. Let's go back to component mode. I'm going to select an edge this time and adjust the fall off. Pull this up and adjust this one too. These edges form the corner of the mouth, so we don't want to edit these at this time. Blend shapes are additive, meaning they will add onto each other. So if we control the upper and lower corners at the same time, we will get double movement. So in this instance, we want this shape to ignore these vertices. Okay, let's use the Erase Target tool again. Just hold B and then reduce the size with the middle mouse button. And just paint to remove that influence. Now we know where those corner vertices should be, we can clean up the rest of the mouth. Okay, let's move these down here. and adjust these. Bring these down and clean up this area. Move these down so there's more of an even distribution of vertices. And let's clean up the upper lip. Let's test that now and see how it's looking. Yeah, that's looking good. We have a nice blend between the lips being open and closed. What I'm going to do now is use the Relax tool. This will spread the vertices out across the model's surface, evenly distributing them while retaining the shape. Just clean up around here, and here, don't worry about the lips being away from the actual teeth, and don't be tempted to move them back either. For this shape, you only want the up and down movement of the vertices. I've also just noticed this model doesn't have the inside of his mouth. It doesn't matter for this tutorial though, but I'll make sure it's added back in at some point. Clean up this corner a bit more. Okay, let's call that done for now. And obviously, I would recommend you spending more time on your shapes. Now we have this main target shape, the next step is to divide it into different areas. So we need the middle, the outer and corner to give the animator more control. Right click on the lips open target and go to duplicate target. What you can see now is the lips target applied twice. So as I mentioned earlier, the vertices are being moved double the amount. Set lips open to 0. Rename the duplicate to upper underscore lip. Let's make sure we hit that edit button too. Now use the erase target tool to remove the influence from the lower lip. Getting to the corners too, we want no influence here. And just in there. Okay, just double check that. Let's check the blend shape now to make sure we got everything. Looks like there's still an influence on the chin, so let's get rid of that. Okay, that's better. Create another duplicate of the lips open target. Rename that to lower lip. Let's turn off edit for the upper lip. So now we want to work on the lower lip, so we need to repeat the process, but this time remove the upper lip influence. Use the erase target tool again and clear the top lip. Test that too. Okay, looks good. So, we no longer need the lips open target, but don't delete it. We can just disable it with the little white button at the side. The lips are now separate. So the next step is to divide these further. We need another duplicate to work on. First, let's disable that edit button. Duplicate the upper lip target. Let's disable the upper lip for now too. And we might as well do the lower lip target too. Rename the new target to upper underscore lip underscore middle. Just move these. and it's the Erase Target tool again. There you go. Maya gave us an error telling us the target isn't in edit mode. So we better turn that on. For this shape, we want to create just a peak in the middle so we can remove the influence around it. Okay, that's too strong. Just undo that. Let's look at the options here. I'll reduce the strength. You can also play around with the fall off if you like to get a softer stroke. Okay, that's a little better. So this is where the outer control will be. We need to blend from here to here. I'll reduce the strength again. Yeah, that's better. We need to keep in mind where we are blending to, so the next outer control will have 0 influence. Looks good so far. Just try that out. We need to clear out the sides of the mouth here. Good, that's got rid of those. That's one shape done, so let's look at the next. And it's from here that we will see where the shape editor falls down, because with shapes like this, we need to be a bit more precise. Duplicate the upper lip target again and rename that to upper_lip_outer. Rename the right one this time. Okay, and turn off edit on that target. I'm going to disable the middle target too. Now we can edit the outer target, which is going to be between the middle of the mouth and the corner. We know the middle vertices are fully influenced by the middle target, so let's remove those. And the next section needs to be softer. Maybe a bit softer than that. We need to remember where the outer control will be, so around 3 faces in from the middle. We can reduce these too. Let's bring back the middle target shape now. Ideally, what we want is for when these two shapes are both set to 1, so they are both fully active, that the shape matches the original lips open shape. At the moment it doesn't, so we have lots more work to do. First, we need to remove the corner influence because there will be another shape which will influence that. Now it's a case of jumping between the shapes to get the best result, which as you can imagine will take a while, especially as we want a more precise and exact shape when all these are combined. There is an alternative way to edit the blend shape targets, and that's to go to the Deform menu, and then down under Paint Weights to Blend Shape. In this window you can actually paint the influence of each target. This though can still be time consuming, but luckily I have another approach. This approach will give you a blend shape generator which works off a single blend shape, and then throws out all the variations you need. What's more, it's future-proof, so if the base shape changes, all the output shapes update automatically. So let's have a look at setting that up. I've started a new scene here, and as you can see we have 5 heads. These are all duplicates of the main head model. The first has been edited to give us our base lip shape, just as we had previously. On the next row we have lips middle, lips outer and lips corner, so these will give us the 3 different sections we need. Finally we have the output head, which should actually be called lips output. I'll just change that now. So the main lips head will feed into the 3 heads below it. These will then feed into the output head, which will give us the main target shapes. Select the lips head model and then the lips middle model. Go to Deform, Blend Shapes and open the options. Let's call this mid_BS. Click Apply to add it. Now select the lips model again and then the lips outer model. Call this outer_BS and click Apply. Finally, select the lips head again and the lips corner model. Call this one corner_BS and click Apply. Now select the three middle heads and then the output head. Create another blend shape node, calling this one output_BS. So we are essentially using blend shapes to create blend shapes. Select the output head and set each of the blend shape attributes to 1. Now go through each of the middle heads and set their blend shapes to 1 too. As you can see below, this then updates the output head with these shapes. The output head looks wrong because the blend shapes are all adding together, so the lip vertices are moving too far. This is what we need though. We can now edit the middle heads and the output head will guide us. Select the lips middle head and go to Windows Component Editor. Make sure the tab across the top is set to Blend Shape Deformers. Now select all the vertices down the head's right side. So what we're going to do is focus on one side of these models because we can generate the opposite side later in the shape editor. If you look in the component editor, you can see that each vertex is now listed and we also have its weight value under the mid_BS tab. Set all those values to 0. All you have to do is drag down and select them all and then input 0. That's removed that blend shape's influence from the model. Move over to the lips outer head and do the same, removing the influence on its right side. Finally, do the same on the lips corner head too. If you look at the output head now, that's updated with the changes too. What we can do now is go into the main three heads and fine-tune the shapes we need. Focus on the lips middle head first. We want to create a curve like we attempted before, but rather than paint them, we are going to use exact values. Select the outer section of the mouth. This won't be controlled by this middle control, so we can remove the influence here too. Maybe select a little more. We want 2 full faces along the bottom and 3 across the top. Just zero these out. What we want to do now is edit the remaining lip vertices so they blend into the outer ones. Select the middle ones of the lower lip. So this is quite angular at the moment, but we can soften it. In the component editor, set the weight value to 0.8. Okay, that looks okay for now. Now select the outer vertices on the upper lip. Let's try 0.2. And move on to the next edge loop. Let's try 0.8 again. So there we have the full influence in the middle, but that gradually fades out to where the next control will take over. Okay, we can't see much of a difference with the output head yet, so let's continue. We are going to work on the next head along now and form the outer shapes. First, double check the values we used, 0.8, 0.2 and 0.8 again. Okay, we know these middle vertices are fully controlled by the previous head, so let's reset them. Select the next row on the upper lip. If you remember, in the previous head these were set to 0.8, so what we want to do is set these up so when both shapes are combined, the weight value adds up to 1. So with that being the case, let's set this to 0.2. Moving along, These were 0.2, so to make them add to 1, we should set these to 0.8. Let's go down to the lower lip now. Again, thinking back to the previous head, these were set to 0.8. So what should they be here? Yep, 0.2. These vertices here will be fully influenced by the control, so should stay at a weight value of 1. We can also leave the corner vertices for now, so if we count backwards, there are 3 edge loops between here and this control. 1, 2, 3. So this middle edge loop should be where the corner control will be, so we know this control shouldn't influence it. Select all this area and reset it. So if this is where the main control influence will be, we need to adjust the next edge loop along. Let's set that to 0.5. That's no good really, because we now have a sharp angle. Let's try 0.8 instead. Maybe 0.7? Okay, that's better. Move to the top lip next. Just as before, we need to remove the vertices which will be controlled by the corner control on the next head. So select the vertices of the outer edge loops and reset them. That leaves one edge loop left, so select those vertices. We used 0.7 down here, let's try the same up here. That works, we now have the upper and lower lip curls. Okay, onto the corner lip head. Before we do, let's just count back to where the outer lip controls will be. 1, 2, 3 polygons. Okay, move to the lips corner model. Select 3 polygons in. So this is where the previous control would be. So let's select these vertices here. And we can also select everything before it. Let's reset those. Now the upper lip. So the middle control has 2 polygons in, so we can select those vertices first. And reset them. If we do a quick detour to the output head now, we can see things are starting to settle down. The aim is for this head to look exactly like the original lips model. Okay, let's continue. Actually, there are some vertices on this model which could probably be adjusted to improve the way it looks. The problem is, because we reset them previously, they won't show up in the component editor. Now, we could just add a vertex which we know has a weight value to the selection, and then that will allow us to edit these. But let's look at another option. Go to Deform and then under Paint Weights, select blendshape. If you select outer_BS now, you can see the weight values represented as a gradient, with white being full and black being no influence. What we can do now is interactively paint these values onto the model rather than use a component editor if that's how you prefer to work. Set the value to 0.2 because we only want a small influence. Let's paint these edge loops here. Actually, I'll do these a bit further in. I'll change this to 0.4 now and increase the influence on this edge loop. If we look closer, I can spot another edge loop in there. Okay, so let's set this one to 0.4 instead. and this black one, which currently has no influence to 0.2. That looks better, much smoother. It's always worth checking the output head too. Okay, now we need to remember those values again so we can make sure everything adds up evenly. So 0.2, 0.4 and 0.7. Okay, moving over to the lips corner head. This was 0.2 on the other head, so to make it add up to 1, let's set this to 0.8. Moving on, this was 0.4, so let's set these to 0.6. Finally, these were 0.7 before, so that makes these 0.3. Oh, okay, these need to be set to 0. Let's check the lower lip values now. So, working from the corner out, we have 0.2, 0.4 and 0.7. Let's transfer those across. So this should be 0.8. These should be 0.6 because they were 0.4 previously. And these are 0.3. If we now check the output head, we can see that it's pretty much exactly the same as the original lips head model. So this is what it should look like when all those shapes are combined, meaning we can get nicer, more predictable shapes. Let's check each shape now to make sure they work. I'll turn them all off first. Corner first. There's some movement under the nose and on the chin, so we need to fix those. The outer shape looks good, and so does the middle, so we just need to tweak the corner shape. Let's go up to the main corner head and select those vertices. Just zero these out. That's better, we just need to fix the nose area. Again, we can just quickly select these vertices and set the weights to 0. Much better. We can now combine them all to make a good shape. Let's compare it with the original to make sure. Looks like this area here needs adjusting, but I'll come back to those later. The beauty of this setup is it's non-destructive, so each stage can be changed without breaking anything. So now we have an output head that will happily generate the middle, outer and corner shapes for us. So that's 3 shapes so far. Plus we could edit the main lip shape and it would update the other stages automatically. We need to go one step further now and divide these into upper and lower lip variations. Select the output head and set all the blend shape attributes to 0. Duplicate it and move it to the side. Rename this to lips_upper. Create another copy and call it lips_lower. Ignore what the names say on the screen for now. Select the output head and the lips upper head and create a new blend shape node called upper_bs. Repeat this to create another blend shape node for the lower head. Call this lower_bs. Set each new blend shape node's attributes to 1 to activate them. Now go back to the output head and set those blend shape attributes to 1 too. You should also see the 2 new heads update. On the lower head, select all the lower lip and jaw vertices. Actually, this is the lower lip shape, so we need to remove the upper lip influence. So, select the upper lip vertices instead and set them to 0. Now, on the upper head, select the lower lip vertices and reset those. We can now use the output head's blend shape node to control what is sent to the upper and lower heads. We might just want the middle lip shapes, or the outer ones, or even just the corner. So with those done, I'm just going to spend some time cleaning them up and adjusting the shapes more, so they are more closer to what we need. Okay, so here we are back with our heads. We have the main shape with the lips open. This then feeds into these heads. So here we have the middle of the lips, then the outer area, and the corner of the mouth. These 3 then feed into this output head. This has the main 3 attributes, so we have full control over which part of the lip we want. As you can see, this then feeds into these 2 heads, which divide them further into upper and lower lips. Here we have the middle lip curl split into 2. So with this setup, you can quickly generate 6 target shapes just from one input shape. What this means is you can do whatever you like with the first shape, because all the others will update automatically. If you were really clever about it, you could even have multiple shapes feeding into the main shape too, and each of these would then be split into 6 separate lip sections. If we move the vertices on the main shape, or if I actually move them on the lips, as those are the active vertices, you can see this updating on all the other heads. Okay, so now you have your generator, what do you do next? Well, you have to now bake the shapes out, and this is as easy as duplicating the final heads. Make sure just the middle blend shape is active on the output head, and then duplicate the lips upper and lips lower heads. Move those to the side. So this has basically stored those shapes for us. Now go back to the output head and change the blend shape attributes so lips middle is off and lips outer is on, and duplicate the heads again. Finally, turn off lips outer and then set lips corner to 1. Duplicate the heads again. So there we have our 6 main lip shapes. Nice and easy. We can now hide these heads, or better still, put them into a lip generator group so you know what they are used for. Don't delete them though. If you have to adjust the shape of the main lips model, this is here so you can quickly generate those 6 variations of the lips in little or no time. Let's move our 6 heads over. And now we have to rename them. Let's call this one left lip upper middle. And the one beneath it to left lip lower middle. Move over and call this one left lip outer middle. Actually, that should be left lip lower outer. Even I'm getting confused with these names. Feel free to call these whatever you want to make it easier for you. Call the one above left lip upper outer. For the corner ones, just call them the same, but replace the outer with corner. Also, the middle ones don't need the left at the beginning of the names because, well, they are in the middle. Now we need to attach these as target shapes. Open the shape editor. You can now see that it's detected the other blend shapes we have in the scene, which we used for the blend shape generator. Let's close them. And let's group them to keep them out of the way. Just drag these here. And let's call this lip generator. Select the main head model and in the shape editor go to Create Blend Shape. Drag that out of the group. Rename the new node to head_BS, just like we had initially. With the head BS node selected, select the 6 lip shapes. Now go to Create Add Selection as Target. The default options are fine. You can see these have now been added to the blend shape node. Let's test them before we move on. Okay, they all work. I'm just going to go through and remove the shape from the end of these names. Now we have these in and working, we can start to think about the opposite side. Select the lip lower middle target and turn down the rest for now. Even though this is the middle of the mouth, we only created his left side. Right click on the lip lower middle target and go down to Mirror Target. If you open the options, you will see we have a few choices about which direction and axis to mirror the shape across. The minus direction is fine and Object X is OK too. Click Apply. The lower lip has now been filled out on both sides. Now select Lip Upper Middle in the shape editor. Right click and select Mirror Target again. That's the upper lip done too. If we test the shape's movement now, yeah, they look good, and you can already see what's going to happen when we eventually add the controls which will pull these around. Let's now work on the other target shapes. Select all the outer and corner shapes. Right click and duplicate them. Let's move these so they are together. Actually, let's group them instead. Call that group Right Lip. Let's select and group the left side too. Call this group Left Lip, surprisingly. I'll disable that left lip group now, and that will also turn off everything inside it. And let's rename these. So remove the copy from the end and change the L to an R. Select right lip upper outer. Right click and go down to Flip Target. As you can see, we have fewer options with this one, but flipping across the X-axis is fine. Click Apply and that's flipped. We can now do the same for the other 3 lip shapes. That's the right side done too. Bring back the left lip group and set each of these sliders back to 1. Also do the middle lips too. So there we have 10 lip shapes, all individual, but when combined, you get this nice and even mouth shape. So there's plenty of options for the animator to play around with. Just close these. You can also use the group sliders to quickly adjust all the shapes at once. We can play around with all these and test how they look. Right, that's the main lip shapes done, but there are more we need to create. You will be pleased to know, however, that from here on things get a lot easier. As well as raising and lowering the lips, we also need to be able to pull the corners out to make the mouth wider, and also give him the ability to smile and frown. Select the head and add another target. I'll add this into the left lip group. And disable the other shapes. I'll call this left lip wide. I'm just going to use the sculpting tools from here on. Select the grab tool. Okay, it would help if I turned on edit. See how easy it is to forget? All I'm going to do is simply drag this corner out to the side. Maybe a bit more. I like to exaggerate my blend shape slightly because it gives the animator a little more room to be expressive. If we turn to the front, we can see this needs pushing in too. The lips form around the teeth, so we have to keep that in mind. Just smooth this area now. Try that now and see how it deforms. This outer area looks a little strange as it moves. I'm going to make the wireframe more visible so we can see what's happening. Just open the tool settings and set alpha to 1. Okay, that's better. We can see this pinch in the cheek here. Let's remove that. I'll use the erase target tool and remove the influence here. Okay, maybe try the relax tool too. A bit around the lips. Switch back to the grab tool now. Pull this in slightly. That's better. We now need to make sure the topology on the lips is evenly distributed too, so we don't get texture stretching. Just a bit more. Okay, that works for now, and as I said earlier, you should spend more time on your shapes. This is just a demo. We will turn the wide down for now. Let's move on to the next target. Create another one and call this left lip smile. Now this is an optional shape because we'll be creating more targets which when combined could give you a smile. Sometimes though, you want the smile to be more unique to the character. So all we're going to do is use the same technique. Use the grab tool to pull the face around to get a basic shape. So in this case, we need to bring the corner out and up. Something like that. Hold shift now so I can quickly soften this area. Adjust these a bit more. We also want to affect the nostril area too. If you're not sure how a shape should look, just look in the mirror and see what areas are affected when you pull certain expressions. All I would say is keep in mind other blend shapes you might be using. If you have a separate control for the nostril, you may want to keep any deformation separate in that area so it's confined to that one control. Give that a quick test. Maybe need to adjust these some more. Fill out this area. As you can see, you can spend a long time tweaking these shapes, but remember, even once the controls are in, you can continue to adjust these shapes right up until the last minute. In fact, it's sometimes easier to work on the shapes once the controls are connected. Just do a few more adjustments. Okay, I better move on. I'll come back to all these later and give them a polish. I'll move this up here. If we now use the wide shape and the smile, you can see that the lips move too far. This is because the vertex movement is being added from both shapes. So ideally, we want a smile, but with no side movement. Select Head BS and add another target. Call this left lip raise. Let's move this into the left lip group 2. So let's set that to 1 and make sure edit is enabled. So all we're going to do is raise the corner of the mouth. So ideally, when the wide and raised shapes are combined, we get something similar to the smile. Use the grab tool to move the corner up. If we test that initially with the wide now, we can already see they work well together. Let's now go in and refine the shape. Even out the topology too. Smooth this. Test it with the wide again. I'll just check the smile. Yeah, that's a bit smoother. Let's turn both the wide and the raise back on now. Adjust and soften these areas. Reduce this crease slightly. Turn the wide shape off now. Okay, this needs fixing. That looks better, but I could spend more time on them. Let's add another target now. This one will be left lip lower. Move this up here. This is going to be the opposite shape to the rise, so more of a frown. But we want the movement down, not out. Move this down here. Soften it now. Rework that corner area. That's looking okay for now. I'm not going to spend too much time on these shapes now, as I think you have the basic idea of what we need to do to achieve them. The sculpting tools make shape creation so much easier. So let's say we are happy with those, so we now need to create the opposite side. Right click on the left lip wide shape and duplicate it. Move this up to the right lip group. Oh, move the right target. There we go. And remove copy from the name and change L to R. Just activate the right lip group so we can see it and turn the rest of the shapes off. All we need to do now is right click and go to flip target. Now we have the wide mouth on both sides of the mouth. We can now repeat that for the other lip shapes when we are happy. Let's add another target now. So select Head BS and click Add Target. Rename this to L_cheek. And let's move it up here for now. What we want this shape to represent is when he puffs out his cheeks. Let's look at sculpting this. Actually, what would be better is if we use the Inflate tool. As you can see, as I click, the geometry is being pulled out, but rather than in a linear way, like if we use the Grab tool, it looks more like he has something in his cheek, like a hamster. I think this is too strong, so let's turn the strength down a little. Move this in here. Undo the last sculpt we did. It was far too extreme. Another way of adjusting the strength of the brush is to hold down B. If you then move forwards and backwards with the mouse or up and down with the stylus, that changes the line in the middle, which indicates the strength. That's better and more manageable. Just work up here. And maybe soften that back a touch too. I'll switch to the Grab tool now. We can now tweak the shape with a bit more precision and try and get a crease here. Raise this area below the eye too. If you puff out your own cheek, you will see this area is affected too, so we need to represent that in this character. Maybe soften this back down a bit too. Give that a try. Looking good so far. Let's just do a little bit more on the crease here. Okay, let's leave that there for now. As I keep saying, we can always come back and work on these later. So let's create the opposite side. Right click on the target and go to Duplicate Target. There's the copy, so let's move that into the right side group. And let's flip it. Nice and easy. Both cheeks done. We should rename this before we move on too. We also have these extra lip shapes which we created earlier, so let's add the right side versions of these. Select lip raise, lip lower and lip smile. And then right click and go to duplicate target. You can duplicate more than one at a time. Move those into the right lip group. Select them and flip them. Finally, fix the names. So there we have both sides, and he's happy about it, although that's a bit of a strange smile. What we have now is a good foundation of shapes which we can use to animate this guy so he can communicate. I'll bring back the controls for a second. What will happen, and we will look into this in the next video, is when this control is moved, for example, it will trigger the left cheek blend shape. The same with the lips. This control will trigger the upper middle shape. So you can start to get an idea of where this is heading. There are lots more shapes we can create from here, and how many you use is entirely up to you. Although I would suggest that if this model is to be used in a game engine, you need to check how many shapes you're allowed, as there will likely be a limit. From here we should add a sneer and squint shape so we can adjust the upper cheek areas. We should also add targets to move the eyebrows because these are obviously quite important. We could even add in some targets so we can animate the nose. So what I'm going to do now is take a break here and work on all the other shapes we need for now, and I will be back in a second. So here we have the model with the shapes added. Over in the shape editor you can see I also added some new groups. Right lip and left lip have all the lip shapes we created earlier. The mouth group has more of the global or generic mouth shapes, although the lower and upper middle lips should maybe be in a different group. I'll have to think about that. Here you see we have lips left, right, up and down. These will move the lips as a whole. Like this really, but it will work off one control, which will make it much easier to animate with. I'll just bring the controls back again. This global mouth control will trigger those 4 target shapes depending on where it is. Just hide those again. You will also see there are 2 other shapes here, pucker and clamp. This is the pucker shape, kind of like he's blowing you a kiss. You can also adjust this with the jaw control to open his mouth slightly and play around with both to achieve an O shape. The clamp is just a small movement, but it's used for when he's creating those M sounds. In the face group we have the cheeks, we also have a sneer which affects this area here, and it also affects his nostril slightly. The squint affects the opposite side, but they also work well together. We can now select them both and adjust them at the same time. The brow has a similar setup. Use both to raise the whole brow. Or you can adjust them independently. We have an obvious issue here with the normal map, where the texture is stretching, so that needs to be fixed, but you get the general idea. If I turn off hardware shading, you can see the topology is okay, it's just the texture. I also added a few shapes in so you can animate the nose. A simple raise and a squash. And also one to flare the nostrils. One thing I want to point out, if you see, we can raise the nose, but we don't have a shape to lower it. This is because we can use negative shapes too. So instead of the slider going between 0 and 1, we could input -1 instead. As you can see, this changes the slider limits now, so we can go into negative figures. What this does is simply takes the vertex movement from the main target shape, but moves them in the opposite direction. So as you can see, from this one shape we now have two, and it makes the nose more flexible. This doesn't always work, so be warned. It does depend on the main shape, as that dictates what the negative versions will be like, and more often than not you will end up with a strange looking shape. With that knowledge though, you could go through and see what other shapes would benefit from this. The nose squash, for example, adding a negative value lets you also pull the nose out. We can do the same with the nostrils too. In fact, you could test this with all the other shapes to see what extra movement you can squeeze out of them. It also works well with the cheek. Rather than just puffing the cheek out, you can also suck it in. Looks like I haven't added the right side versions of these shapes yet, so I'll do those after the video. You will be able to see them in the source files. As you can see now, we have lots of target shapes already, so the list is growing. If I select the blend shape node, we can also see them in the channel box, all ready and waiting to be driven by user-friendly controls. So there we have it, all the main blend shapes set up and ready to go. An animator could now take this and animate it using the channel box. But what we're going to do in the next video is make it more interactive and streamline the animation process by connecting the controls to the blend shapes. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you have any questions and tell me what future videos you would like to see. Remember to download the files from my CubeBrush page so you can follow along with these tutorials, and why not say thanks with a small donation via my Ko-fi page. As always, remember to like this tutorial and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with future videos. This is antCGi signing off, and I will see you on the next one.